DaVinci Resolve is the best color grading software. I know you've heard that a lot on YouTube and where else do you watch videos? On social media. Now, is that true? If you ask me, my answer will be yes, because from my experience, DaVinci Resolve is actually a beast when it comes to color grading. I know you get quite a number of good stuff in the Adobe Premiere Pro when it comes to grading, but it is nothing compared to what you have in DaVinci Resolve. I've often made illustration that DaVinci Resolve is like a white empty canvas given to you with brushes and colors that you can just paint away with. It gives you everything you need to create your imagination. So at the end of the day, what you get as a result is basically a product of your own painting skill. Today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some of those brushes and some of those colors in DaVinci Resolve so that you can begin painting your own imaginations in color grading. That sounds like a very good illustration. Anyways, in essence, what I'm saying is we are getting into DaVinci Resolve color grading today. Now, before we get into the software, the first thing I want you to do is get a footage you're going to be working with. The best way you're going to be able to learn how to grade is not to just watch an entirely long video on grading without actually practicing what you're watching. So get a footage and work with me as I walk you through color grading in DaVinci Resolve, okay? The second thing is the footage you're going to be working with. Get the camera information. And when I say information, I'm basically talking about the color science information of your camera, maybe the color profile, the gamma, and all of that information, because I'm going to show you why you need that in the software. I'm going to be working with a log footage, a flat footage with no color. And we're going to transform it from this to this. Let's get into the software. Now, to import my media, I click on the import and go straight to my drive. Wait, I think I just saw something. Okay, I think the footage is already even here. Now I have a couple of footages here that I can work with, but I think I'm gonna go with this. I've got a couple of colors in this particular footage to work with, so I think I'm just gonna work with this. And all I'm just gonna do is drag it to the timeline, then go to the color page, and here we go. Now here we have just one node. The first that appears is a single node. Now, the node system in DaVinci Resolve is what you have in Adobe Premiere Pro as the adjustment layer. You know, when you're grading in Adobe Premiere Pro, you have adjustment layers that you lay on each other, you know, to create your grade and all that. In DaVinci Resolve, on the other hand, you have what is called a node tree. It's just like a tree with different branches all linking to an output, a final output image, okay? So one of the major advantages of the node tree to me is the fact that it allows you the flexibility to create all of the different steps of your grading individually. So nothing is lapping on the other. They are all individual. So you can adjust anything you want individually without having to affect every other adjustment you want to make. For example, you can have your shadows separate from your highlights. I mean, that kind of stuff. So that level of flexibility is what the node tree gives you. Before we get into grid, let me correct this notion, right? When I started learning how to grade, even with Adobe Premiere Pro, I fell into a problem. Every time I try to copy the grading that I saw colorists do on YouTube, I always found out that most of the times my own grade would come out not looking as good as what they had. And it would always discourage me, you know, at that initial stage. I'd always feel like, is it that I'm not really good enough? But I follow it step by step. So why am I not getting the exact same result? Until later on when I realized that, first of all, the camera they use to capture the footage is different from the camera I use. The lighting setup is completely different. The colors in their scene are completely different from mine. In fact, some colorists download stock footage, well captured, well lit stock footage to make their videos. And that's not a bad thing, because you want to push the right kind of images, the right kind of footages when you're color grading so as to better inform your audience, right? So essentially what I'm trying to say is, as you're watching this tutorial now and you have your own footage that you're going to be working with, have that at the back of your mind. The colors I have here are different from your colors. Everything in my scene is having a different setting from your scene, okay? The important thing about what you're about to learn is having the knowledge so that you can work with it to achieve what you want with your own image. It doesn't have to look exactly like mine. It just has to look as you want it to look. So the tools I'm going to be giving to you, what I'm going to be showing you is basically a guide to help you create what you want. Okay? So don't get stuck on what my own image or what my own footage looks like at the end of the day. So basically, this is what we have. This is the full screen view of the footage we're going to be working with, right? And then here we're going to create 3 nodes. And to do that, we hit Option S, right? Now, that's because I'm using a Mac. Now, I'm going to name these nodes. The first one I'm going to name NR, which is my noise reduction. The second one I'm going to name my primaries. The third I'm going to name it my, let's see, I'll name this my exposure. And then create another node. Name this my balance. And then create another node. Create a third node. I'll create a third node. Name it my CST in. And then create a fourth node and name it my balance, right? Now, I'll create another node, see how many nodes I'm creating, right? And I'm naming them per what they are going to do for me. I'm going to name this my RGB mixer, which is red, green, blue, and then create another node and name this node my look. Create another node. Name this node my CST out. Now, there's a node I missed out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back here to the RGB mixer and I'm going to hit Shift S to create a node before the RGB mixer. And then we have this node here. I'm going to name this my skin, right? Now for this skin, I'm going to create, let me clean up my node tree. Now for this skin, I want to create nodes under, parallel nodes under. So what I'm going to do is right click here and go to add node and then come to add parallel. Another way I can do it is to, the shortcut of course is Option P, and I have a parallel node, right? Now let's clean this up so that it all sits right. Perfect, perfect, good. All right. Right, good, good, good. Now, on this one under, I'm going to just name, I'm just going to use it to touch the blue. I could create another one underneath again and name this one orange. All right. I could change the name later on if I see that I don't need to actually work on the orange. I could just change it later on to something else. Okay. But basically, these are all the nodes we're going to be working with for this grade. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 nodes, right? There might be need to add some more, but let's start with these basic ones. The first node we're going to work with is the CST in, the color space transform in. Now, what we're going to be doing with this is, because our image, our footage is flat, the first thing we need to do is to convert that footage. And in converting the footage, the first step would be to give the software information enough for it to be able to decode the color details, the color encoded in this footage. We're going to give it information, then the software will decode it and then give us the colors. So, well, to do that, we're going to go down to Effects and just type color space transform. It gives us this, and then we drag it to this node, the CST in node. Then this tab opens. Now with this tab, what we're going to do is, the first here you see input color space. If you remember, I told you to get the information of the footage of the camera your footage was shot on, right? This is where you're going to use it. So here, input color space. My input color space is Sony S-Gamma3 scene. I come down here, I select it. You see, we're having a little bit of color already coming up here. It's not really looking good just yet, but colors are coming out. The next thing is the input gamma. The input gamma for this is S-log3, so I go down and I look for S-log3. If you see this long list, there are several others. There's still red log and the likes. But for this, it's Sony S-log3. I pick it. You see our image is already looking like it's been graded. Okay, but this is not where we're going to stop. All this has done is that it has just given the software information enough for it to be able to, get the colors out. But we are not done. This is just the first step. The next will be, let me put it on full screen for you to see. This is what it looks like now, right? The next will be output color space. We're going to go for DaVinci wide gamut. It's a very, very wide output color space. You can see that the colors are gone now, but that's not a problem. It'll come back. And then output gamma, we'll go for DaVinci intermediate. It has gone back flat. But we've done the conversion, right? Now, to get the colors back again into this mix, we'll come down to the CST out. That's the final node. We use it as the final node because that is our final conversion, what we want this footage to come out as. Okay? So selecting this CST out, what we're going to do is we're going to bring another color space transform on the node, and then we go over the information again. Of course, the first one, input color space, we're going to go with Sony S-Gamma3 scene, and then S-log3 for input gamma. Okay, and then here we come to Rec 709 because we want it to output into Rec 709 being a more universal display. Now, your output color space is determined by where your video is going to be viewed. If it's going to be viewed on small screens or it's going to be viewed on large screens, or it's going to be for broadcast. But Rec 709 is kind of universal, so I like to use it a lot. Then output gamma, we're going to use gamma 2.4. And there you have it. The colors are back, right? So we're done with this. I'm just going to close the effects, and then let me clean up the nodes again so that we can have it all here again. Okay, so you see our CST out gives us this conversion. The image looks like it's good, it's popping, the colors are popping, right? But this is not what we want just yet. So the next thing we want to do is we want to go to primaries. It's looking a little bit washed out because the shadows are not in the right place, the highlights are not in the right place, as good as it looks. So we'll go to the primaries. And when we hit the primaries, we now come down here to the color wheels. Click it, and then you have your lift, gamma, gain, offset. Now, the lift affects the dark points of the image. It affects the dark point, the black points, the shadow points of the image, right? The gamma affects the midtones. The gain affects the highlights. The offset affects the general image. So if you come to lift, basically whatever you do in lift is going to be affecting the black points or the shadows in the image. So if you touch the lift, you see it's not affecting the entire image. It's basically working more on the dark parts of the image, right? So we want to bring this down a bit to add some contrast to the image and separation between the highlights and the shadows, right? So one thing you have to turn on that I didn't turn on, and I have to because I just looked to the right now and I didn't see it, so I got alerted, is this. You have to turn on your parade. Mine is looking too good. Okay, now what this does is this is a guide. This guides you to know what is too much and what is not too much, what is balanced and what is not balanced in your footage. Now you might want to trust your eyes, but trust me, your eyes are not as good as what this graph here can give you, your parade. So now this here represents the shadows whilst this here represents the highlights. You don't want the shadows going below 0. You see, if we drop this too much, you see it's going down. It's clipping. It's going down. We don't want that. So you want to keep this as baseline as possible, right? You don't want it to go down too much. I think this is okay. This is okay. Yeah, this is good, right? Then for your midtones basically skin and all of the tones in the image that are not overly bright and overly dark. So if we touch midtones, you can see what it's doing to her face, doing to her skin, right? We take the gamma up a bit until it's sitting at a point that we're comfortable with. I think this is okay. Then for the gain, the highlights, I want to drop it a bit. I don't want it, yeah, I want to drop it a bit because we're going to work on the skin separately later on. So drop this a bit. Okay, now I want to go to the exposure. For the exposure, we're not going to be using this primary color wheel. We're going to go here and click on log, the log wheels. Then in the log wheels, you have your shadow, midtone, highlights, and then offset again. And of course, it's self-explanatory. The shadows affect the shadows. You see, we touch it down, you see it's affecting the shadows. Not the black points as much as the lift does in the primary color wheels, but basically focusing on the shadows in the image. Okay, so we want to drop it down a bit, and you can see what it's doing here, doing in the parade. And then for the midtones, take it up just a little bit. We want to leave the highlights as they are, right? Come back to the color wheels. Now we go to balance. If you look at the parade here, you'll see that there is no balance in this image. There's a little bit of red above the other two colors, the green and the blue. Okay, so to balance, I'm still going to use these wheels here. Now, I'm going to start with my gain, and I'm just going to drop the red a bit. Don't worry about what it's doing to the image. It might be looking like it's wearing it out, but don't worry. We're going to make everything sit well very soon. Okay? You're just going to play with this wheel until you have a good balance in your parade. Okay? We're getting there. We're getting there. Yeah. We still have our red clipping a bit. Sometimes it's not entirely a bad thing, especially if red is the dominant color in your scene. Okay? So you have to also watch out for that. If that happens to be the case, your image might be properly balanced if you have more red. Okay? But what I want to try to do with this image is try to equalize them a little bit. Make them sit a little closer to each other so that I can very well separate the skin to work on it if I need to. That's what the balancing does, essentially. Okay, so once you've balanced, if we turn this off, you see the difference. Turn this off, you see what it was before, see what it is now, right? Good. So the next thing we want to do is we're going to come down. I'm not going to touch the skin just yet. Not just yet. I'm going to go to the RGB mixer. And here, I'll come down and select the RGB mixer here. This is where the RGB mixer is. And essentially, this just basically touches all of the primary colors in your footage, the red, green, blue. Okay, you know, all other colors are a product of combination of these three colors. So this is where you do the mixing of these colors. What you want to do here is you want to adjust the amount of green. You see, if I touch the green, you see it scales up. If I take it down, green completely goes. Okay, and being that these three colors are the colors that make up most of the other colors, you have them in every single footage. Okay, so they affect every single footage. If I touch the blue up, you see, take it down, you see what happens. Okay, so that's that. And then the red as well. Take it up, it's all red. Take it down, you don't have good color. So essentially, that's what this is about. So I want to adjust this. See, I want to adjust this. Take my blue up a bit. Take the green just slightly up. Slightly. I have to come down here. Yeah. Then let's bring our red down. Beautiful. I think I like it like this. Then now I'm going to come to my skin. Now for the skin, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down to this color picker here, this qualifier, and then I'm going to tap on the screen, on the skin, right? Then I would come up here, click it to isolate the image, to highlight it. Now you see every other thing is hidden somewhat. I just have the skin and some of the colors that are related to it. So I'm going to now come down here and use the hue, saturation, and luminance to very well separate the skin from all the other colors. Okay, so how I'm going to do that is for the hue, I'm going to just adjust the slider to take out all the other colors that are highlighted that I don't want, right? And then the highlight, the saturation rather, to adjust the amount of all of these colors. And then the luminance, of course, is basically the brightness of a color. The brightness of the color. The saturation is the intensity. The hue is the shade of the color, basically. Okay. Now, you can see that it picked this shade and this shade as well as the skin tone. Now, you can try to avoid these other colors as much as you can, but sometimes you may not be able to very well separate them, because if you do try to, you may lose parts of the skin tone. Now, part of the reason why I'm getting some of these colors selected is because of the blush on her cheek. If I try to get them completely out, I'm going to start losing some of it. All right, so I'll just leave this in. I think I have a good selection like this. I just need to get rid of some of these ones here, and I think I'll be good to go. So basically, you're just going to work with this slider until you have a good enough or perfect selection of what you want. Then the next thing is you want to go down here to the matte fitness, and under here you're going to clean the blacks. Here you're just refining what you've just done, okay? Then you can, if you also want to clean the white clips, if there are white clips in it, for this there is nothing like that. So if there is, you can you can move this slider also to do that. Then you can now come down to blur radius and then blur it as much as you want. Don't go too high, too high, because if you do, you may lose the effect. So let's leave it at maybe 25. Yeah. Then come to number 2 here and then denoise. I like to crank up my denoise to about 30 thereabout. Okay, perfect. Now you see it's looking sort of smooth, right? Now we can now come back to this highlight here, click it, and then what happens here is we've separated her skin tone from every other thing, so that whatever we do to the skin will not affect the other parts of the footage. So let's say, for example, if I want to increase the brightness of our skin and I come to the gamma, you see what's going to happen. You see, it's not affecting the other parts of the image. It's just touching the skin, right? Then if I want to take down the lift, increase the gain, whatever I want to do, I'm basically just going to be affecting the skin. Now, this you can do with every other part of the image, every other part of the footage rather. And that's what I try to tell you from the beginning. All of these tools, you're just learning them so that you can use them to achieve what you want. Now, the next thing is we're going to go down to the look. Now, this is the fun part for me in DaVinci Resolve. For this grading, I'm not using a lot. So I'm basically just creating what I want. Okay, this look, the look I want for this is something glamorous, something poppy, because there are colors here and it's a podcast. So I want it's a podcast, it's a girl child kind of podcast. So I want the colors to actually shine. I want everything to pop. So I'm going to go to my look and then come to this. Instead of using the color wheel, I like to use the color bars. Okay, here I'm now going to do my grade. Okay, most of the times after having done all of this, I just do a little bit of touch up in my look to achieve what I want. So for here, you're just going to work with the sliders until you have the look you're looking for, the look and feel that you're looking for, right? You work with the sliders, your red, blue, your red, green, blue rather. You work with them like that until you get what you want, right? Yeah, I want our skin to pop a little more. I'm still going to go back to her skin, but for now, let me get a base look, right? Okay. Okay, I think I'm good like this. If I turn the look off, you're going to see the difference. This is what it was before. This is what it looks like now. So what I want to do, I'm going to go back to the skin. Then I'm going to come back to my color wheel and touch the skin. Because I want it to pop. Or take the lift up, bring the gamma the opposite direction, a little down, yeah, and then I could just, like that, until you get exactly what you're trying to achieve. There is no perfect way around it. It's basically what you're looking for. When you get it, you stop, right? Okay, so the next thing is I want to touch the blue. I want this blue to pop just a little bit more. So what we're going to do is the same way we did with the skin. We're going to come to the qualifier, pick the blue, highlight it, and then, refine it here. I think it looks a little refined. Our skin tone is out and all the other red is out. The green also is out. So we're just going to clean the blacks by at least 15%. Blur radius by at least 25. And then we'll denoise by 30. Yeah. Now we close this, and then here now we can basically play around and affect the blue. See, whatever we do is affecting just the blue. You can see every blue in this scene now is being affected, both on our shirt and the blue background. So we don't want to do too much, because if we do too much, it might be a problem. So all we just want to do is to just pop it a little bit, and you can see. You can see we're doing that with this. Just working the sliders to get the shade we're looking for. I think we're good like this. If I turn it off, you see the difference. This is what it was before. This is what it is now, right? Now I can come to my noise reduction. Obviously, we don't need this orange because I think I like where this orange is sitting already, and I like where other colors in the scene are sitting. So I ended up not needing this. The next thing is my noise reduction, so as to avoid noise, because footages like this, a lot of the times you get noise. If you play it back, you start seeing noise here and there, right? So I don't want noise. So to do my noise reduction, click on the noise reduction node, then come down here to the motion effects, and then you select the frames. I'll use 3, right? Then under the temporal threshold, I'm going to drag this to about 10. Can take it higher than that, but the image is not too noisy, so I don't need that. Then my spatial threshold, I'm going to unlink the chroma and luma and just increase the chroma to about 3 thereabout. And then you see the difference. The noise in these parts of the image is gone now. So let's say if we turn that off, let me zoom in a bit. Let me zoom in. Let's turn off the noise reduction. You see, just look at this part of the image. Just focus here. Turn it back on. Turn it off. Right? So at the end of the day, this is what we have. Now, there are several other things that you can do. For example, I can decide to track the face and do some work on the face. I can add face refinement. I can do a whole lot of stuff to this image. But basically, this is where you start from. In fact, most colorists will tell you to start with 3 nodes. Now, maybe I'm going to do a video about that, but for now, it's not a must for you to follow this node tree just exactly as I did it. The important thing is the knowledge, knowing what each of these things can do so that you can now use it to achieve what you want to achieve. That's essentially what it is. It is not a copy and paste kind of thing. That's not what grading is. Grading is an art form. You learn the tools and then you use the tools to achieve your end result. That's just basically it. So yeah, that's that about this grading tutorial. Until the next video, don't forget to continue to learn, create until you become.